Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees, and I have Nick here today. Some kind of unexpected news. I mean, I think the Yankees were always going to kind of be linked to Abreu when he got DFA'd because he is a former Yankee. But the Yankees bring Alberto Abreu back. They claimed him. They DFA'd David McKay, so rip one of the stash bros. Um, Always going to remember him for, 2 outings to Major League level.
Yeah, for
Two
those
very
the guy that looks like Andrew Chafin or Goose Gossage out there on the mound.
Yeah, just an important part of what is a stash revolution for the New York Yankees.
It's been pretty great.
Yeah, but Abreu was on the Yankees last year. I know he had his ups and downs. He had like a really rough outing against Tampa, but kind of in between those rough outings were some really good outings
Yeah.
that he looked great. Whenever not even his command was really sharp, whenever he could just get the ball over the plate, he was dominant. He's got a firearm. His slider is really good. So, Nick, tell me a little bit about what you think about this signing, because I know that you're definitely excited to talk about it.
I mean, it's awesome, dude. It's like it's a cash god masterclass, and that's what this is. That's all it is. That's the reason I'm so hyped we got Abreu back. We traded Abreu for Trevino, and then it's like, okay, well, Abreu didn't really have a place in the bullpen. It makes sense because I don't believe he has options either.
Right.
So like there were problems with Abreu that we couldn't like fit him into the team, and we were able to get Trevino out of it, who we were excited about getting purely because of his defensive capabilities. And now we're seeing like just an incredible year from Trevino. And if Canada as a whole wasn't allowed to vote in the All-Star game and have a couple 100 million extra votes there for those Blow Jays, we wouldn't see Alejandro Kirk destroying everyone in the All-Star voting. So I'm so happy to talk about this because Cash God just literally got Trevino, and then Abreu didn't work out in Texas. I believe he got injured. And then he went to Kansas City and didn't work out there. And now he's just back. So it's like, we got Trevino for literally nothing.
Yeah, and when it comes to winning that trade, I mean, the Yankees again, they stole Trevino from the Texas Rangers, and for people saying, "Oh, well, they weren't going to really need him," well, ultimately, you'd rather have good players than not have them. And if you are going to trade away good players, you want to get more value back than someone you DFA'd less than 3 months into the season. For the Yankees, getting Abreu back can be a big bullpen boost for the depth. Not really, You're not going to put Abreu into the 8th inning of a baseball game, but the Yankees are definitely short on arms. They could totally use another right-handed guy. The Yankees are kind of short on those right-handed arms. They really have King, Holmes, and Marinaccio as their top righties. And King is a guy we're using once, and he's kind of out. You can only really use him 1 out of every 3 days because he's used in multi-inning roles.
Honestly, same for Marinaccio right now. Like that's what they're doing for Ron. They're stretching him out to usually 1 2/3, 2 1/3 innings now. Like he's had, I think, back-to-back games where he's thrown 30 pitches.
Yeah, and Marinaccio's had to step up and become a big part of this bullpen, and step up he has for sure.
Thank God, dude. I'm so happy he has. People still talk shit on Ron Marinaccio, and I don't get it. I'm like, have you guys taken a look at his stats at all? Have you guys seen that the only thing he's struggling with is his location? And if you take out those the first 2 appearances and then the Rays appearance, he really hasn't been that bad in terms of locating his stuff. He works counts full. That's his problem. There's a lot of 3-1, 3-2 counts. And it's like, Ron, what's going on here? But a lot of the time he gets out of those counts because his changeup and slider just move all across the plate. And he was touching 96 the other day. I'm loving the progress with Ron Marinaccio. My dude is just slicing and dicing. I don't know. Like I'm happy we got Abreu because as you can see with this bullpen, we need the depth. We need pieces. Like I know you're probably on the same wavelength I am right now with Miguel Castro, where it's like, dude, I cannot keep seeing Miguel Castro trot out there as the first guy called to in a 7th, 8th inning situation in a 1-run, 2-run game.
Right.
And he just continually lets us down with poor pitch selection. He tries to throw his fastball way too much. And I think Abreu, I will say Abreu's not this like revelation. Like he has an 11 walk per 9 this season. Like he's been really, really bad with his location as well. But he has good stuff, and who knows? Maybe Matt Blake will work with him a little bit. Maybe we do see a couple of Abreu appearances. But I do think that you're absolutely right that it's more of just a depth signing. And it's just kind of a stick it to the man signing, I think, where it's like Cashman's like, yeah, you guys kind of scoffed when we traded him away, and now we just got him right back for literally nothing after 2 teams didn't want him.
Yeah, and when it comes to, Marinaccio, Abreu, those type of guys, right, the Yankees are going to need some guys to step up. Marinaccio definitely has, even if on the year, he has an 84 ERA minus, which means that his ERA is 16% better than the average pitcher in the American League. Still, he has great peripherals, right? Like, he's been a real good asset for the Yankees in the bullpen. Abreu, for me, strikes me as a guy where The Yankees kind of know what they have with him, and they're very familiar with him. He's familiar with the organization. I think that's just a good fit overall. I think for Abreu, the slider's always been a good pitch for him. He's never really struggled to walk. Like, he's never really had a walk problem with the slider. It's really with the fastball command. And it's been inconsistencies with him getting that ball over the plate. It really is just a matter of, can you get your ball over the plate? Because they don't hit. It's not like he gets crushed or gets hit, right? Like last year, he didn't have an issue with batted ball data against, right? It's really or this year either. It's just a matter of, can the dude throw strikes? And for the most part, the answer has been no. And that's really unfortunate, because this is a guy who, has the stuff to succeed at any level he pitches at, and he just hasn't. You look at the exit velocity against last year, it was 83.8 miles per hour. 29.3% hard hit rate. Like, I know that, you can't really necessarily control batted ball luck. Like some guys just naturally get hit harder than others. But Abreu's one of those guys that just hasn't been hard hit at the major league level.
No, he just can't. He just walks people. That's always been his problem. I mean, even in the minor leagues, he always would sport like a fantastic K over 9 when he was stretched out, but he'd always support like a 5.6 walks per 9. Like, that's been his problem. I feel like that's the Yankees pitching MO development. Like, that's how it is. Like, if you look at the last couple of years, he had a 6.94 in 2016 with Houston. Then the Yankees picked him up, and he was pretty good that season. Like, that was one of his better years in high A baseball. And then when he started to see more competitions, when it started going downhill. At 2019 AA, he had a 5 walk per 9. In the league, he had a 13.5 that year, and literally pitched 1 inning, so it doesn't count. But then 2021, he had like a 5.7 walk per 9 across the levels. And then in 2022, he has an 11 walk per 9. So it just seems like there's something that he's just one of those pitchers where it's not going to work out. And he can still be used, and he can still be a valuable asset to the team. But we're not going to see Alberto Abreu trotting out there for 45, 40, 50 innings worth this season at all. Like, I bet you we see him for 15, 20 innings total over the next 2 months, 3 months.
And I also think when it comes to Abreu, you're fine with the high walk rate, the high strikeout rate. Like, we see this in Marnacio, where he doesn't have a high walk rate, but he doesn't have a high strikeout rate. So it's not like the peripherals are like down on him or anything. He's a good pitcher because you can get a lot of strikeouts. Like, I wouldn't have a problem with Miguel Castro if he struck out 30% of batters he faced. I'm not necessarily saying Abreu has to strike out 30% of batters faced, but if he's at a 10% walk rate with like a 26% strikeout rate and he's getting ground balls, like, I think that's a very effective reliever.
I think he'll be I think he's a good pickup. Like, at the end of the day, it costs nothing to get him, to bring him back. Right. I'm sure they probably signed him to a minor league deal anyways. So he will probably appear on the roster. We may even see him in a couple of days if we have something going on. But I will say, it seems like Zach Britton is progressing well ahead of schedule in his rehab. Like, is it just me, or I feel like Britton and Chapman are doing the same drills now?
Yeah, and one thing that's really cool about having, Britton and Chapman kind of coming back at the same time is you get 2 big lefties in there, 2 guys who have had closing experience. Whether Chapman figures it out or not, same thing with Britton, we don't really know. But I'm excited to see if they can figure something out, because those guys are definitely guys that, if they are right,
oh, it's huge. This team is basically damn near like unbeatable if we have a couple of bullpen guys that are reliable outside of Holmes. And even last night, Holmes got tagged finally. Like, it took him 49 other games, like, from the first time he got a run scored on him to have another one scored on him. So it's like, at the end of the day, like, if that's the only guy we truly rely on, he and King, if we're being honest, those are the 2 probably guys that every Yankee fan feels comfortable watching pitch in a close do or die game. Outside of that, it's a lot of like, we got Wandy, who we know is pretty good, but has his moments of like, what's going on? Marinaccio, who's literally, this is his first season in the bigs. Miguel Castro, who literally, when he throws his fastball, it's always shelled. Like, when he throws a slider, he's a much better pitcher. You did a whole breakdown on this like a week ago, and I don't know what happened, but Miguel Castro since then has regressed back to the way he was. And then you got like Licky, who's terrible. Schmidt, who I don't trust in terms of a back inning role all that much. And I like Schmidt a lot, but it's like, if you can have Britton and Chapman in there, 2 guys that are literally like have done this for basically a decade. For Britton, it's been a little bit less, and for Chapman, it's been a little bit more. That is huge for the team. And they're 2 lefties. They're 2 lefty specialists. Chapman is one of the best strikeout artists of all time, and Britton is like the quintessential ground ball pitcher. So it's like, if you can get those 2 guys back to full strength, it'll be a huge, huge benefit for this team. Because Abreu, again, a great signing. Really happy we got him. I mean, I'm glad he's back in the organization. Clearly, like you were right, there is a good relationship there, or else they wouldn't have brought him back. And if he can find a place on this team, that's awesome. But I also don't want to see like Marinaccio or Schmidt losing innings because we just signed Alberto Abreu, if that makes sense.
The way I see it is the Yankees got someone who is there's no risk attached and there's a high ceiling there. And if he does figure out, that's great. If he doesn't, this isn't someone who's like even then, like Abreu really has to be really impressive in order for him to stick on the roster. Because again, with Brand coming back, with Chapman coming back eventually, Loaizaga, you hope comes back. They might want to add a reliever at the deadline, right? Like there are a lot of different things the Yankees are going to be doing. I think that are going to cause the Yankees to have to send different guys down. Like you mentioned, Schmidt, Marnacio, I think they've kind of established those are the two guys who are definitely above him on the pecking order in the right-handed pitcher list.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have to not just be okay, he has to, turn heads.
Yeah, he's got to be better than those guys. And those guys have been really good so far. Schmidt especially has been anything that the Yankees have asked of him. Like he spot started, he filled in an extra innings. Like the dude basically can do whatever you need him to do. He wants to be a starter, though. That's the only thing with Schmidt is that he said he wants to be a starter. So it's like at the end of the day, if he's not going to get starting opportunities with us and he gets frustrated over being a bullpen arm, then you can look to move Schmidt. Like, I don't know. There are a couple of options. You're absolutely right. And the Yankees could definitely pursue a bullpen arm at the deadline. I mean, the odds of one of those bullpen arms being packaged with the player of needs are quite high. That's how it usually goes for teams that are contending. So it's like the Yankees need a middle infielder. That's clear as day. We need a shortstop. I'm sorry, but IKF and Marwin, not cutting it for me. So if they end up going to get a shortstop from someone and get a reliever as part of that, we're going to have another situation where it's like, who gets sent down? So I don't know. I like this signing because of the depth, and we can never have too much depth. I mean, we learned in the years past, the next man up mentality is great, but it's very, very hard to maintain.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of I think that's a good point to end on here where, yes, the Yankees need to have that next man up mentality, but you kind of hope it doesn't come to that. You kind of hope
that's what the Rays are now having to do.
Right.
Like, and you see what's happening to them. They're in 4th place right now.
Yeah,
the Rays are a really good team.
That's a team that, we all anticipated was going to be competing for the American League East and a World Series caliber team. And,
they're now 4th.
And
5 games ahead of the O's.
Yeah, the Yankees have been 6-2 against them after years of getting, bent over by the Rays pretty
like now we go to the Trop and we even though the games are still, tomfoolery going on in the Trop. Like I bet you tonight's game will be some wild shit.
There's
never a normal game at the Trop, but we're winning these games now. Before it'd be like, how are the Yankees getting in this unlucky and losing these games? Now it's like, okay, there's some shit that's happening, but we're winning these games. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I imagine tonight, Marnacio, Schmidt, King are going to all be asked to do a job.
Those are the 3 guys we see.
Yeah, I imagine they want to give Holmes another day of rest because he threw a lot of pitches yesterday, a lot of high-pressure pitches. I imagine those 3 guys are going to be asked to do a job, especially considering Wandy's out. I imagine I don't know if Wandy's out per se. I mean, no, I'd imagine he would be because he pitched against Toronto and he pitched against Tampa. I imagine Ron's going to be called upon to do a little bit of lefty work because his changeup is so good, and it's.
And I bet we'll see a classic 1 1/3 or 1 inning pitch from Ron, like 18 to 21 pitches, a walk, and then a strikeout and 2 like soft contact outs. That's literally what I'm like. Maybe 2 strikeouts. Like that's what I've become accustomed to with Ron Marinaccio. He is one of these pitchers that I trust. Like he's one of the few bullpen pitchers that I trust.
As long as Ron sticks with his game plan of, using his changeup against lefties, and, making sure, and he uses it against righties. I'm not saying he
but his changeup against lefties,
he's such a good
slider a lot more against righties.
Tampa's going to try to throw out lefties and
try to out there to get
Marnacio.
Well, actually, no, because isn't Nestor on the mound today?
And if you look at the weighted on base.
Yeah, so their lineup.
If you look at the batting average.
Yeah, we got Yandy, Paredes, Harold Ramirez.
Nestor is on the mound today.
Rosarena, Mejia, Josh Lau, Vidal Brujan, known homophobe, and Brett Phillips batting 9th. So yeah, they went right-handed heavy with their best hitters top of the lineup. And then the bottom of it's a couple of switch bats and then lefties. But I literally do not fear anyone in this lineup except for Yandy and a Rosarena occasionally. Like that's what Tampa's become now.
Yankees have to make sure they're smart to not, give a cookie to Rosarena and pitch carefully to those guys. But as long as they're attacking hitters that they should be attacking, they should be fine. Nestor has had success against Tampa pretty consistently in his career. Yeah. And so we'll see. I don't
game for Nestor, baby.
Yeah, I don't imagine we see Abreu tonight, but we'll track his progress, I guess, in AAA or wherever he's set to. We don't really know where that is. That hasn't been defined yet. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. You guys know to check us out. Our Twitters are above our heads. You see our Twitter handles up there. You guys know to check out Fireside Yankees. We have a Twitter, we have an Instagram, we have a Facebook. There's great content all over. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment. Let us know what you guys think about this signing. Let us know what you guys think about Alberto Abreu, the bullpen, what you think he's going to fill into. And of course, you guys know to check out Empire Sports Media for all your New York sports content. We have all got a ton of articles for the Yankees out there. So if you guys want to hear a little bit more of our thoughts in terms of our exclusive thoughts on a certain player in a more depth in a reading format, you guys know to check out Empire Sports Media. And of course, thank you guys for your support. We appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.